In this session we want to learn about doors and windows. Let's start off by looking at our main floor, floor 2, and we'll hide the other floors. So I'm going to put a door in this area here. I'm going to put in some windows. In our building shell toolset we have a door object. When we place a door object in the wall, you notice it highlights. We can click, go outside, click again, and it puts that door into the wall. And you'll notice that it now says door in wall at the top here. We can also choose what class the door goes on. So I'm just going to take that away for a moment. I'd like to change my class to none, and let's put that door in again. At this stage you might also find it's easier to hide some of the classes for some of these objects. I like the visibility tool for this because you can click on a class and it turns that class invisible. Let's go back to look at our front door. So we want to put a door in this area here, and we're going to use our door object. The wall highlights, find the center of that wall, click, click, and it puts our door in. If we have a look at our door, we can either define our door by our rough opening size or by the leaf size. And there's a big difference. The rough opening is the size of the door plus any side lights plus the jambs. If you choose leaf size, it's just the leaf size of that door. So an 810 door is a generous door, and that would allow us to do other things with that door. I'm just going to hide the navigation palette because I need all this information for the object info. So if we scroll down, we can have a look. We could put an ID tag on our door. We can set the ID label. We can show it in 3D. We can set the label size, about 7 or 8 I normally use. We can put an ID shape on here. I quite like using the hexagon. If we scroll down a bit further, we'll see there are some other options. For example, we can choose our jamb. We could use the wall depth for the jamb. So it actually reads the thickness of the wall, which is 190 millimeters plus the plaster. We can put our jamb width in, so you can type in the size of the jamb width, which depends on the construction. And then we can choose whether it's a solid leaf, a glass leaf, and so on. So maybe that's made out of glass, in which case we get a glass door. We can also choose to make that a solid leaf. There, give it a thickness. And we can also check to see whether that has a vision panel in it. So we could, if we want to, include vision panels in our door. Maybe it's a good idea to have some small areas of glass so you can see who's coming in. On the other hand, we might make that a solid door but include side lights. You might remember that earlier on we chose to have the structural size of the hole, or the size controlled by the leaf of the door rather than the structural opening. Had we chosen structural opening when we include the side lights, my door would get very skinny. So let's have a look. So we've got a 200mm side light, and on the right side, nothing. So now I've just got a skinny light on one side. 200mm is pretty skinny. It's difficult for someone to break into that, but not impossible, of course. So there's a door. What about we include some things like trims? Now the threshold is a strip that goes underneath the door. The transom goes above the door. I want to include an exterior trim, so you can see it appears on the outside here. Maybe that width is about 6 inches, so it's a big wide trim. The lintel goes on the top of the door outside here. I don't want to include a lintel. And we've got a lot of information. So we've done all of that work, and we've created all of this information on our one door, so that we start to think, do we want to reuse this door, or is there something that we want to reuse about this? And there is, because later on we need to create door elevations. So we want to be able to use a system that will allow us some flexibility, but also give us some control over it. The concept we're going to use is called a style. So I'm going to create a new plugin style from an unstyled plugin, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Doors and Windows. And in Doors and Windows, you can see it selected there, I'm going to create my door. So the door is going to be called D01. or you could call it door type 1. So now we've got an opportunity now to look at all these different sizes. Now this arrow means that the style, that is the door style in the resource manager, is going to control that particular setting. Now for what we want to do, the only thing we want to be able to change in plan or in our design is our ID label. Everything else should be controlled by the door style. So we've gone through and made all of our settings. So general, 2D visualization, we haven't changed this very much yet, but we could set attributes by object, by line style, or by classes. I don't want to go through all of these because there's a long discussion you can have about what things you want to have on different classes. So I'm just going to use by object. 3D visualization, we've already gone through this in part, but I want to show an exterior marker. So my hinge marker wants to be on a special class because this is something I do want to be able to turn on or off. So I'm going to put on a class door arrow. So I want to be able to create some elevations where I see this in this opening marker and some where I don't. We don't want to see the door in 3D because that'll affect our elevations. Let's look at our ID tag. I think I've gone through changing most of these settings beforehand. The jam we've looked at. We want no shim gap. That will put a gap between the door leaf and the concrete wall. What leaf size we want, we've looked at some of these as well, but you can see there are a lot of settings that we could change. We've looked at the lights. Threshold I've talked about. Transom is something that goes between the door and the window above. The trim we've looked at, the lintel. I'm not going to put hardware on, but if I wanted to, I could also include the hardware. And we've got classes that control all kinds of things. Now the exterior trim, I need a class for door dash exterior trim. So this class is going to control the look and feel of my exterior trim. So let's OK that, and that is now a style, and you'll notice that a lot of my settings are now grayed out, all except the ID label, because the style is controlling all of those. If I hide all the style parameters and just leave the one that's flexible, it's a very easy door to look at. Now we are going to need to create more doors, so I'm going to look at symbols and plugin objects. We're looking at step 8, doors and windows, door type 1. So let's have a look at this and let's duplicate that door and we'll call it door type 2. And this will be an internal door. So let's right click and choose edit. This is an internal door. It's going to be a lot smaller. It's not going to have any lights, so no side lights. Let's have a look at the leaf. It's not going to have any vision panels. Let's look at our trim. It's not going to include any trims. And it's also going to use the door thickness. The general size is a 760 door. So just put in the right door size, 2050 for the overall height. So just put in the size of the door that you want to use, the height of the door. Some people use a door which is 710 millimeters, which makes it a little bit skinnier. Go through and make all the changes that you want for that particular door, because now when we go back to a plan view, if we should have fixed all of our walls by now, let's have a look. So we've got stairs to go in here. Now we can start to put in our doors. So we say let's go back to our door tool. What sort of door do we want to use? Oh, let's use door type 2 because they're all internal doors. Let's select that, and we think we need a door there. We'll probably need a door here. We might need a door into our kitchen there. We might need a door into our bathroom here. And you notice I can choose which way the door's flipping. Same thing here. So click, which way do we want the door to flip? Inside, rotate it that way. We also need another exterior door. So let's choose this door. Let's duplicate it again. This is door type 3. Let's right click and let's edit that, because what we need is some French doors to open outside. So we're going to leave the classes the way they are. We're going to leave the trim the way it is. We're going to turn off the side lights. The leaf type is going to be a glass leaf. So we've got our top might be 100 millimeters. Our left and right might also be 100 millimeters. The bottom rail might be quite thick, maybe 300. Totally up to you with your design. We've got that. Let's go back to general, and our width, our overall width is going to be about 1400 millimeters because we're going to have two 700 millimeter doors. Click OK, and that's a new door style. So now what we can do is we can say, let's choose door style number 3. And let's go up here because we need to have French doors that open out here. So I should have chosen style number 3. So double click on that. You can see it changes. Let's find our door and we'll click there. Now we need our navigation palette ready because we need to go to the next floor up. And we want to hide all the other layers because we need to put a French door in there. We need a French door to go in here as well. We also need one here from that bedroom out. And we also then need to put our upstairs doors in. So double click on that. So we need a door for that bedroom. We need a door for this bedroom. Need a door for the bathroom. Door for this bedroom as well. And a door for the ensuite. What's missing? Oh, a door for this room as well. So I better put one in there, otherwise we can't get in. So that's a quick way to put the doors in. Now we need to look at windows, and windows follow a very similar concept. So let's place a window here. Let's look at it in 3D. So there's our window. Why don't we make this window the same as we've done for the doors? So let's have a look at that. The size of the window, it's going to be a awning hung window we'll start with. We're going to go to our visualization. We're going to use object again. Just before we leave this, the window shape is going to be rectangular. We could choose a circular window, an oval window, and so on. I'll use a rectangular window. Rough opening is a good idea for windows. So the width is probably about 2 feet. The height is maybe about 3 feet. Elevation is 2050 set to the head of the window. So this is going to create a styled window which we can then use on window after window. So 3D visualization, do we need an exterior marker? That would be quite handy. The hinge direction, door, arrow. The reason I'm using my door class is so that I don't have to have 2 classes to turn on or off. One class will control all of them. The ID tag. Yes, we want a bubble shape, which is a hexagon. Bubble size, I think we made that 7 last time. We can put in our size for our jambs. I think we made that 25 for the door. So we can put in our sash sizes. We can put in our shim gap at 0 again. We can choose a sill or not. That puts a very heavy sill on there. We could have louvers if we want instead of glass window. Transom again would be between 2 windows there. We do want an exterior trim. We used 150 for the door, so let's reuse that, and we'll put the trim under the windowsill as well. Lintel, no. Muntins would be little glass beads that go on top of the glass. We could use exterior shutters if you wanted. So we've got a window with exterior shutters. It's going to put them on the outside. If you want the shutters to come inside, and this window is a specific width, so we've got a 450 wide shutter, a frame depth of say 35 millimeters, offset from jamb. If we make that 100, you'll see that my shutters are outside my trim. If I make that minus 450, the shutters are actually in front of the window. One of the other things you can do is to use a custom shutter. There are some here, look like louvers. Some look like rustic shutters. And so I've got the 2 shutters closing in front of the window. When we come to classes, we can put those on a class if you want. So I'm not going to include exterior shutters in this project. We're not going to put a center line. Here we've got classes, so shutters Exterior shutters, we could create a class for those. Door, exterior shutters. So if we wanted to use shutters, we could include them, we could put them on a class, and then hopefully we can hide them later on. So when we've got all those settings, click on the OK button. There it is there. You can see there's my window. Now my window was 600 wide, so I've made some mistakes with my shutters. That should be 300 and minus 300. So now my two shutters should fix in front of my windows. Now because they're on a class, if I open my navigation palettes, let's open navigation, I should be able to turn off my shutters, door, external shutters, and I can see my window. So I just need to make sure that those shutters are on the right class. Let's open it up and have a look. Now it might be because I've chosen a custom symbol. Let's just have a panel shutter. Click OK. So that's my panel shutter. And if I turn off my external shutters class, you can see my external shutters turn off. So that's just one way of having shutters, and have them close in front of the windows if you want. So we've got a window, we've got glazing, we've got the size, we've got so we want to show our tag in 3D, but make sure that you put that ID tag on the class that you want. Why not put it on the same as the arrow or the same as we've chosen for the door? If you haven't created one for the door, create one so that we can turn that tag on or off depending on our rendering. So door ID tag. Okay, so that's on the class door ID tag. Okay, and we might need to go back to our doors here. Let's edit that door. And make sure that our ID tag is on the class that we want. Door ID tag. And then click OK. And you'll need to do that for all of your other doors as well. Otherwise they won't turn off when you want to. So just here, that door, you'll notice that if I turn off the arrows go. But if I turn off the door ID tag, that ID tag doesn't disappear. Not until you edit that, go to the ID tag, and make sure you assign that ID tag to the class that you want. ID tag. Click OK, and then you can see the ID tag disappears. So we're developing a system of classes that's going to allow us to speed up our drawings. So this window, we can convert that window into a window style. So new plugin style. So this is window type 1 or window style 1. So why not call it window? I like using the word type rather than style. That's window type 1. But you might find it better to actually put in the size of the window. So that's 600 by 900 awning. Might help you to remember what kind of window that is. Once we've got a window made, we could then create several copies of it. So let's duplicate that, and this one's going to be a 1200 by 1200 casement. Right click, let's edit that. Let's start with the general. So we want that to be 1200 wide. We want the height to be 1200. We need to change our shutters because we made those custom width. We don't have to make them custom width, we can just let them be the default width, but we do need to offset those by minus 600. Otherwise they won't go into the middle of the window. Now once you've created a window and it has a style, you can then replace it with a different style. Makes it very quick to create your windows. So let's create another one. We need some small windows. Let's duplicate that one again. So duplicate. So this is going to be a 400 by 900 window. It's also 400 by 900 awning. Okay, and right click, let's edit that. So what do we need to change about this window? This window needs to change its size, so it's not 600 wide, it's only 400 wide. It also needs to change its exterior shutters, so minus 200. And let's turn off the custom width so that we don't have to worry about changing the width all the time. Click OK. So let's get rid of that window there, and let's go downstairs, and we'll start with the lower floor, floor 2, and we'll start putting windows in. So we've got our lounge here, or our living room. We need a big window in the front window. Let's start with our window object. Let's choose our 1200 by 1200 casement. So double click, find that wall, click in the midpoint, click outside, and there's our window. We might have another one here, but for this kitchen we might need to have a separate window that's not quite as high as that. Maybe we need to use our 600 window. So let's go back to that, 600. So we're going to put one there. We might want to look out onto that area there. This is our bathroom, it certainly needs a window. This is our entry, maybe we need a window there. And maybe we need a skinny window, our 400 window in here, so that we've got light coming into our staircase. Then we can go to our floor above, and we can start to put our windows in here as well. Now remember, this is a wall that bounds our neighbor, so we need to put a smaller window there. We could put windows in here if you want. So let's go back to our awning hung window. So there might be one there, another one there. We can't put a window in this wall because it's our boundary wall, but we might have a window here, and we might go back to putting smaller windows in here. So put in the windows you think you need, and you'll notice just how quick it is to put the windows in. And when we put in the windows, they have the color, the line weight, the height that we want, and they have the shutters on as well. If we want to turn off the shutters, we can turn off all of the shutters because the way we've set them all up. We can also turn on the arrows if we want. We can also turn on the ID tags and see all the ID tags. And if you've created some of your windows without the ID tags, it's quite straightforward. Let's just edit that. We'll check our ID tag. Where is ID tag? We haven't shown in 3D. Yes, we have. Got on the door tag class. And so we just need to turn that back on so we can see those tags. So what's the next step? We've got all our doors and windows in, but later on we're going to have to produce a drawing that shows all of these. Let's create a brand new design layer. We're going to call it Window and Door Elevations. And in this particular layer, I want to have a wall with 0 height. So it's using a wall style that doesn't exist. Let's replace that with a wall style that we might want, like an internal block wall. We'll probably still get an error message about it not being the right height, but what we really want is a height of 0 and an offset of 0. Now the reason for that is I want to now place doors and windows. So let's go here, door type 1. We need to click and place one of those. Let's change to door type 2. We need to click and we need to place one of those. Door type 3. We need to click and we need to place one of those as well. When we go to a front view, you'll see there are my doors. Particularly if I go back to a view which is hidden line rendering. So in hidden line rendering, I get my doors, I get a line, and I've got my doors with the facings on the outside, so I can now create elevations of those. So why don't I create a viewport Let's go back to wireframe. Let's change that to a screen plane mode and view, create viewport. Now we've created viewports before, so I can go a little bit quicker this time. We need a new sheet layer. This is sheet 020, and it's going to be my window and door elevations. Okay. What scale? 1 to 50. It's a front view. It's going to be head inline rendering, and then OK. So there are my door elevations. Let's update that. There they are. I don't need to see the class for the door ID. Let's turn that tag off and let's update. So this particular door doesn't have its ID on the right class. I'll need to change that. But the beauty of all of this is that if I make a change to these doors, so let's go back to our door object, door type 1, let's edit that. Let's say, for example, the client wants to have a different design for the front door, or they want to change the trim. Let's say, for example, all of the trims need to be 100 millimeters now. So I change that trim. Let's go back to door type 3. This also has the trim, so let's edit that. And we'll change that door trim to 100 millimeters as well, about 4 inches. So you notice it hasn't changed yet, but I still have this red border going around. When I click on the update button, you notice that my door trims have changed. So it's changed here. It's also changed in my elevations. It's changed in my plans. It's changed in my perspectives. It's changed everywhere. So that becomes a very powerful technique for creating a consistent or a controllable window or door object that you can then create drawings from to show the contract what they really look like. So let's go back to our design layer, windows and doors. Let's look at that from a plan view, and let's put in our windows. So we've got a 400 by 900 awning, so we'll use that one first. Then we'll change to the next window, and then we'll change to the next window. Now you might notice that the trims have all ended up on the top side, and since I'm using the front view, everything's back to front. So let's select that wall and let's reverse its direction. Now when I do that, you'll notice that my trims have jumped from the top side of the wall to the bottom side of the wall. Let's go back to our sheet layer. Let's update our viewport, and now you can see my windows as well. So again, this is a great way of having a very controllable, very neat way of making sure that all your windows and doors are all consistent. So go back to your floor plans and just check to make sure that you've got all the doors and windows in that you need. It might be that you want to control the color and the line style or the graphic style of your doors in 3D. So let's have a look at our doors. Now remember, we changed the trim, so I'm going to put that back again. So let's edit that door. We want that trim to be 6 inches again, 150 millimeters. Let's go to our 2D visualization. Let's change that from object to class. And we're going to assign the class of the trim to door external trim. 3D visualization's fine. If we look at trim, there's nothing here about dealing with the trim by class. Let's OK that, because what I'd like to do is to come back to my trim here, edit that, make sure that this has a sort of a darker red color on it, OK, and you can see that's updated that door. I should really do the same thing with my windows so that there's then a consistent look and style to my windows. So let's edit that one. We'll go by class for that, and we'll choose trim, exterior trim. Just check your classes here and make sure that your exterior trim is on the correct class as well. So door, exterior trim, click OK, and we should see our windows update. So you just need to do that for all your windows and make sure that their classes are correctly set. So back here, edit, I do need to double check this window and make sure not only is it there, but also under the classes that it's on the correct class here as well. So that should be on door, external trim, and then OK. This one here, let's edit that one. So here it's on the right class. Let's check our classes here. Exterior trim should be on the correct class as well. And then OK. So just check your windows and make sure they've got the correct classes. So when we go upstairs, we should see all of our windows have the correct color as well. This door needs fixing, so go around and fix those, make sure they're all up to date.